Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for stopping by, keeping me company as usual. If you're here with me for the first time, welcome, welcome. Please remember to subscribe, share, give the video a like if you enjoy the content and find it informative, as well as feel free to leave your comments in the comments section. To my subscribers and regular viewers, welcome back. Very nice to have you as usual. And of course, you know the ropes, right? You're going to give the video a thumbs up from now, share, and then return so that we can get down to business. Of course, you know, I thank you all in advance for your promoting of the channel and all those nice and kind words that you have to say in the comments section. Yes, man. I do read them. I read them, and I do give a like. There are so many of them I can't comment all and respond to all, but I do give you a thumbs up myself. Yes. So now that you're back with me, let's now get down to business. What are we going to talk about today? We are going to go controversial. We're going to make a proposal, you see, that I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but I'm going to try my best to lay my arguments out so that you can see where I'm coming from. Now, it is about this constitutional reform. And one of the things that we know about this constitutional reform is that it will never happen. You know how we know it will never happen? Because each side wants to be the one to bring it about. I don't know how they managed to bring it about in Trinidad, but here the PNP is trying to stall it because they don't want the JLP to be the one to bring it. And I feel sure that if there is a future PNP government, not with this clown that is there, that Englishman, think him want to be Prime Minister of Jamaica, right? Not with him, but any future PNP government that is formed and try to change it. I know the JLP will not cooperate with them. Why? Because the PNP never cooperated with them either. So, as a result of that, I thought about it and I realized something very interesting, which I will bring to your attention shortly. But in the meantime, what I'm going to let you do, though, I'm going to let you listen to the Englishman first up, and then you will hear from Mrs. Malahoo-Forte, who is a minister trying to get this constitutional reform underway. And then I will return with my own views, which is going to surprise you no end. All right, so let us listen to them now in Parliament.
Opposition leader.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank the Minister for her presentation. I don't intend to say very much today, other than to point out that when the draft report of the Constitutional Reform Committee was shared with me, I put in writing my concerns with aspects of what was being proposed. I got a response to those concerns, making certain arguments, putting certain points forward, and I responded to that as well in writing, in detail. There are a number of issues which are unresolved arising out of that exchange of correspondence. And these are important matters that will affect whether or not the opposition is able or willing to support the bills that are being put forward. I don't know what the content of the bills is. And obviously until I see it, and until we have an opportunity to see it, or see them, because it's two, I understand, we can't commit ourselves one way or the other. I note that Section 49 is to be amended. Section 49 provides the guardrails in the Constitution. It is the provision that sets out how the Constitution is amended. It sets out different procedures for amending different aspects of the Constitution depending really on how fundamental those issues are. So there are some amendments to the Constitution that can be done by simple majority in each House. There are others that require a 2/3 majority of the members in each House. And in the Senate, as is well known, the governing side does not have 2/3. So amendments which require a 2/3 majority can't pass without the opposition being on board. And then there's a third category which require not only that the legislation be passed by that majority, but also that it be approved subsequently by the vote of the people, in what's referred to as a referendum. Originally, my understanding was that what was being proposed in the first phase of the reform process was to get over those things that would require amendment by referendum. Therefore, the subsequent reforms would be things that don't require a referendum. Now I'm hearing that Section 49 is to be amended to make it that much easier to deal with those reforms that don't require a referendum. I'm not sure why it's considered necessary to do that, given that the guardrails applicable to those amendments which don't require a referendum are either a 2/3 majority of each House separately voting on it, or if it's something relatively unimportant or relatively uncontroversial, which is not subject to any form of entrenchment, a simple majority which the government has the capacity to pass on its own. The Constitutional Reform Committee did not get into any discussion as to the structure of Section 49, which is a very complex provision, and was no doubt the subject of a lot of consideration by the persons who originated the Constitution prior to independence. We have not been consulted on that matter, and I consider it necessary to see that. I think it's something of that nature ought to be shared and subject to some amount of consultation between the two major political parties before embarking on it, because it is likely to be something which is going to be scrutinized very carefully, given the importance of the guardrails in the Constitution. So, while I understand the Minister's anxiety and desire to move forward as expeditiously as possible, I would ask her to bear in mind that this is a situation where one hand simply cannot clap. And without the support of this side, this process is going nowhere. And we have put on the table issues of real concern, and unless those are addressed, our support is not guaranteed. And I have not heard anything over it's probably more than 6 months. I can't even remember when the report was, I think, finalized around March, April. We're now in December. I've had no interaction with the government on this matter since I submitted my final letter in that fairly short period of correspondence when the report was being finalized. It doesn't augur well for consensus when we proceed like that. And I would suggest that they may want to take some time to engage the opposition on our concerns if there's a genuine hope of moving forward to passing this legislation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Opposition Leader. Minister.
Madam Speaker, just to assure the Leader of the Opposition that there is no intention or desire to not have meaningful exchange. I think the absence of the opposition members on the committee has prevented the kind of update that we hope would have been provided on an ongoing basis. Just to say, Madam Speaker, when the CRC was designed, it was designed taking into account the need for bipartisan support as well as the people's approval. And that is why it is structured with membership from government and opposition Senate and House, and the public. Madam Speaker, the committee, working in the committee has been extremely frustrating at times because on many occasions members expressed the view that it was clear that efforts were being made to derail the work and preventing real progress from being made. If the mechanism places the opposition at the table, where every issue is being discussed with candor, openness, and detail, where no view is shut down, where we have deliberated and never disagreed disrespectfully. You know, at some stage, the responsibility for the lack of update has to be owned because the mechanism was there. I want to thank the leader of the opposition for the comments he sent. They were considered, the responses came. Some of his suggestions were taken on board and would be reflected in the updated recommendation. I think there are two issues that I understand are of concern. The issue of impeachment and the issue of the final court, coming down to it. All right, the issue of the mechanism for appointing the president has been reviewed, and we took into account suggestion made by former Prime Ministers Pattison and Golding, as well as other comments. And that revised mechanism takes into account the fact that we are not moving to an executive presidential system. There is a two-stage process of nomination and confirmation, and you will see what has been put forward from the recommendation. We have had proposals for an expansion in the body for approval. That there was no consensus on that, but we have noted it and will send it forward. I think the opportunity will be provided for further deliberation at the Joint Select Committee, but you will not have to wait until then because you will see the bill long before. Just to go to the issue of the proposed amendment to Section 49. Section 49 is a deeply entrenched section and therefore can only be changed with the approval of the people and the holding of a referendum. There is no intention to weaken the guardrails, absolutely none. In fact, the proposed amendment strengthened the guardrail because the proposal includes tabling of a bill to amend the Constitution in the House of Representatives in respect of the ordinary provisions, a delay period of 14 days between the tabling and the commencement on the debate, and another 14 days between the conclusion of the debate and the passing. That is improvement. Not weakening. There is no proposal to change the vote that is required in respect of any category of provision. So there is no fear that a 2/3 majority will be changed in any way. There is proposal in respect of efficient use of the parliamentary time and also to make correction of cross-references easier. It really shouldn't require going to a referendum to alter a cross-reference or to delete a section of the Constitution that has been repealed. And the proposal is to make it easier to add provisions to the entrenched sections, not to take away.
Madam Speaker, that's just a simple question. Would the Minister agree that all previous substantial changes to the Constitution came about from consultation and approval from the opposition before tabling of the bill in Parliament? And would the minister not see that as a better course than as you're proposing to table a bill that we haven't seen before tabling? Is that really the wise course to take, Minister?
This is how I will answer. I am mindful of the constitutional arrangement, and it is and has always been the approach of the government to provide a mechanism for consultation and bipartisan work. But you would appreciate that you can't delegate the responsibility of government. You have to get on with the work. And so, the lack of update to the leader of the opposition has to be owned by the opposition members on the committee. But my short answer is I will always take the better approach. And you can be assured that the bill will be viewed. The next meeting of the CRC is set for tomorrow, and notice was given more than a week ago. So I hope that the members will be present and that the mechanism will allow for the information to be transmitted and then other steps be taken to have the cross-aisle conversation.
Well, my peeps, that was the discussion in Parliament on Tuesday, December 3, on the constitutional reform, which would basically rid ourselves of the monarchy and create some kind of republic. And in the process, be on our own. We own big people. Now, I hope you found this conversation as interesting and as enlightening as I found it. I did indeed. For here is the government, determined, it seems, more than any other government in the past, to make the republic happen. And I can see why. Mas Andrew seems to have been the only one with a vision to recognize that if him can make this thing come to pass, he would have an eternal legacy associated with this island, which will not be in the footnote as the other prime ministers have allowed themselves to be. He would then become the father of the new Jamaica. Just as what happened in Burkina Faso with Captain Sankara. You remember him? Yes, he renamed the country. And having renamed the country, he became the father of that new nation. Almost more important than the one who was there, the president who was there at the time when the country got independence, right? So this now is what that Englishman is trying to prevent. That foreign national who is sitting in our parliament, yes, I'll be kind to him. That's what he's trying to prevent. Apparently, he wants to give the impression that he wants to be the father of the nation. But of course, he has no real interest. Why? Because for him to be supporting any policy that is against his own government, which is the one in Britain, will be tantamount to treason. So he has put himself in this funny position where he has to make sure that it fails, right? Now, listen to what he said here. I'm going to read it for you, right? Listen to this part of what he said. I will ask her. I'm not talking about the minister now, and the minister being anxious to get along with it. That's what he was saying, you know. He's aware that the minister is anxious to get along with it. But according to him, I will ask her to bear in mind that this is a situation where one hand simply cannot clap. And without the support of this side, This process is going nowhere. Now, Mr. Englishman, you seem to be under some kind of delusion, because we would like to tell you, yes, it is true. Old time people say one hand cannot clap, but them also say there's more than one way to skin the cat. There is more than one way to bring about constitutional reform. And I'm going to tell my peeps and the whole of Jamaica, including Mas Andrew, what the second way of going about constitutional reform entails. And I will justify my arguments with some arguments. Yes. So when you say, Mark, send this go game. Send this go give the Englishman. You comrades who might be listening. Right? Send this and tell the Englishman that when he said, without the support of this side, this process is going nowhere. That is not true at all. No, not at all. And you shall see shortly. Right? That you may think that you have some power. You see, what is happening here is that this is a very nasty character. Nasty character. And his nastiness is in full view for all to see, pretending that it is something else. Right? Let me continue to read what he said. And we have put on the table issues of real concern, and unless those are addressed, our support is not guaranteed. And we have put on the table issues of real concern, and unless those are addressed, our support is not guaranteed. Is which we him at about? Me peeps? Is which we him talking about? Which we himself put the issues of real concern on the table? There was no we who did any such thing. It was him who did it. Write one long, must a 4-page letter telling them that this him have a problem with this and him have a problem with that. You know why? Because in the constitutional reform that is recommended by highly respected people like Lloyd Barnett, an expert in constitution, right? He's on that committee that is guiding it. Plus, them go get somebody from Canada, I believe, to help them in the process. Now, he, having heard from the two PNP members on the committee what has been going on, him went to foreign, and when him come back, him realized that them ready to sign off. And in it was a clause that had to do with the business of dual citizenship, where the constitution was going to be amended that nobody with dual citizenship must sit down in our parliament. And there was where the stalling came. And it went about to tell people about, we must be insular, we must look to get people, only to find out that it was a self-serving position that he had assumed, because he holds a British passport, is a British citizen, and never got a Jamaican passport until he was 46 years old in 2011. All his life, he was attending school in Jamaica on a British passport that had in it an unconditional landing status. When he returned to the island and started to work and went and registered as a lawyer, in his passport, British passport, he had stamped an unconditional landing, and that is what permitted him to live and work and go to school in Jamaica. At no time at all did this man ever consider himself a Jamaican. Not even when he married to a Jamaican woman in 1990. That's 30 odd years. He never sought to make himself a naturalized Jamaican citizen. He had no respect and no regard for this country, nor the people of this country. He did not want to be associated with none of you. I run round about Market G, Mid G, and una go with Golding. When I go? England, una go with him? When I go with him? All in a sudden, he find himself in the politics. And now looks him want to turn prime minister. The Englishman, you know. Went and got himself a Jamaican passport. Went and got a safe seat. Him and him crony, Peter Bunting, set up them 400 fake groups, for the most part. And then he is now the opposition leader, saying want on prime minister. With a British passport. He has not given up the British passport with his unconditional landing in it. And as for that Jamaican passport, we do not know if it is legitimate or if he holds that Jamaican passport on legitimate grounds. In other words, we do not know whether he has a right to hold a Jamaican passport. But him have one, evidently, issued by PICA to say him a Jamaican, while him still have him British passport with the unconditional landing stamp in the same way. Tell him to show with the passport that, and page by page, flip through page by page and show us that there is no unconditional landing status in it, or permit, whatever they call it. Right? So, it is no we that had any concern. Him have the concern. Tony Hilton and Donna Scott Motley never had no issue with none of the terms of what was agreed between all of them until him opened him out. Then they went back to the leader. Now he has withdrawn them from the committee and now a complaint that things are going on and nobody not telling me anything. You forget, sir, you did take them off a committee because you tried to stall the process. The process was going on same way, and it shall go on, and I will tell you how. Because after me finish with you, Mark, me going to call Mas Andrew to order. Right? Because if you believe that you have no power, you don't have no power. Not a damn power you don't have. Right? Okay. What else did he go on to say? And I, you hear? There is this plethora of eyes and me in a conversation about our constitution. Did you notice, my peeps? Full of the eye, them man. And I have not heard anything more from the six months past when when he wrote them the letter. I have had no interaction with the government on this matter since I submitted my final letter, and in that fairly short period of correspondence when the report was being finalized. It's all about him, He thinks it's all about him. You see, let me tell you what I think is going on with this imbecile. Because I've been telling you something wrong with this man, He has a mental defect. He has a mental defect that gives him a sense of entitlement, of superiority. I hear people talk about say him don't see himself as superior or inferior to anybody. You don't know English people. The longer England go ask the black people over there and everybody else about the English people. They are fabulous at pretending. Them can act. But it's what come out of them mouth and them action that tells you who they are, if you care to see. Right? So he has this sense of entitlement. He's well aware that some of his foreparents who were from England, buried here though, called Benjamin and Esther Nunes. When you look at his family history, all of a sudden when it reached to Benjamin and Nunes and Esther Nunes, you suddenly find that the family break off. There is no further history beyond that. That was what made me suspicious. And that was what made us in the resistance decide to look a little further into those family members who suddenly don't have any family behind them. These are Jewish people, my peeps. Them keep a record of them family. And therefore, if you see where they have a family line and you don't see anything beyond, there must be a reason why you're not seeing anything beyond that. So that made us suspicious, and then we went and investigated. And sure enough, we found that his great-grandmother, his mother on the mother's side, great-grandparents, Benjamin Nunes, Esther Nunes, were slave owners in Jamaica. Montego Bay was where they had their estate. And they are buried in the Jewish cemetery in Montego Bay. You listen to me, my peeps? This has given him a sense of superiority. That him take we as black people, bring us over here, enslave us for as long as him want to enslave us for, and set us free. Them all think that as slaves, we are nothing. Bunch of cowards. Bunch of fools, because they know they were not going to be slaves to anybody. Never you man where you reading at the Bible. No, the Egyptian never enslaved no set of people named Jew. Appear like that. Not no go so. Make up story. There is no reason for them to do so because they had people, and you don't take in unskilled people to come do what? What would the so-called Egyptian be enslaving Jews for? For what purpose? Because them worried about them numbers. Then if them worried about them numbers, then I run them out. So listen to that. This is a white man from Europe. Whoever the Jews were that they were talking about is not them this. That's a made-up story. Right? No. His sense of superiority is what make him feel that he has an entitlement to be in our parliament, an entitlement to have what he wants and the type of constitution that he wants, and he begrudged the idea that we are even changing a constitution that his people put in place. There was a section where he said, when he was speaking about the constitution, where he said, the persons who originated the Constitution prior to independence. Who are those persons I'm talking about? Yes. So the safeguard that is there that was put in place by these people, him have a problem with it being touched. I wonder if you understand what is going on, my peeps. The People's National Party has put as its head an enemy of this country. And them working like hell to put him in a Jamaica house. Working like hell. Demonizing the black man that is there. The son of slaves that is there right now. Demonizing him in the hope that you out there fool enough to say you don't want him, so you go vote against him. You know, vote for this man, you know. You vote against him because that's how the only way them see them can get power. For this man, it is not about what the PNP want. It is not about democratic socialism. The party has now gone full swing to being a party of personality. And this now is a personality. This piece of crap is who them want now to go take put in a Jamaica house. Them want you to substitute the son of slaves and put in his place the slave master, and them not thinking of what may happen after that, you know. Now, sir, them say socialists are no fool, but the people them will clearly run in the orange, them are no socialists. Them are risers. Then he went on to say with him pompous self, it doesn't augur well for consensus when we proceed like that. And I would suggest that they may want to take some time to engage the opposition on our concerns if there is a genuine hope of moving forward. In other words, what I wrote in that 4-page letter that I want changed, if you do not agree to those changes, including allowing dual citizens to sit in the parliament, then according to him up here, the process is going nowhere. That's what the man is telling us. But Marky G, your time is over. Go and go sit on one side, because you don't make sense. You don't know what an hour clock a strike. You, right? Full of yourself with very little understanding of life. And I'm going to teach you something in life now. Beg you call Mas Andrew for me, please. Now, Mas Andrew, what I'm about to tell you is nothing to smile about. Or some serious thing this. But let me begin by presenting my arguments for what I'm about to propose to you for future action. Because this Republic thing ain't gonna go nowhere. And this Englishman is going to make sure it doesn't. Because as Malahoo-Forte said on Tuesday, she said, working in the committee has been extremely frustrating at times because on many occasions, members expressed the view that it was clear. Members expressed the view that it was clear that efforts were being made to derail the work and preventing real progress. When she said so, the Englishman did not stand on his feet and deny any such accusation. So, old-time people say silence is consent. Right? The members of the committee that you set up is under the impression that there is a concerted effort, meaning to say, that there's no doubt about it, that there are efforts being made to derail the work, to derail the progress of us becoming a republic. And there's one man that is in that way, and the PNP determined to keep him. And so here is what I'm going to say to you now, Mas Andrew. There is something that all of us fail to recognize. All me too, till we start to think about it. Recall that the Constitution of Jamaica that is now in place was put in place by the British. It was the British that were running Jamaica at the time. No constitution could have been passed in the parliament without their consent. And the constitution that would have been passed in the parliament that had their consent had provisions in it that suited their interests, not ours. That's the first thing. And one of the strange things about this particular constitution is that it was imposed on the population of Jamaica at the time, and we babies that were just born. At least I wasn't even born then. I born a little bit after. It was an imposition. Nobody went to the people of Jamaica and asked them what they think. And even if we find that with research that there were some discussions going on publicly, the people of Jamaica was not asked to vote to put this constitution in place. The constitution instead was put in place by our representatives, which is not the same. So the 2/3 majority of the voting population never came into it then. The constitution therefore had easy passage. The British agree, Norman agree, and Cousin Buster agree. And because of the system that we had, right, once the two leader agrees, it's passed in Parliament. Then now, this piece of paper, it's a piece of paper, which sets out the structure of government and the rights of the people. Right? That piece of paper then proposes to tell us that we cannot change its provision except with 2/3 majority of the people who never voted for it in the first place. In other words, the Constitution was put in place, and those who put it in place, namely the British, did not want it changed. In other words, they wanted to put as much difficulty as possible in the way of it being changed. So they put their minds down on the paper and put it in the law and say it is the supreme law. And then say now that if you want to change any of the provisions or certain of the provisions, you have to go to the people now and make the people 2/3 majority of them change it. I have news for you, Mas Andrew. You don't have to abide by no such damn thing. You just heard what I say, Andrew? Listen to me again. Read my lips. You do not, as Prime Minister of Jamaica and as leader of the cabinet and government, you do not have to abide by none of those provisions which stated how the Constitution can change. Not even Section 49. You have no obligation to do any such thing. You know why? Because it was not the people of Jamaica, 2/3 majority or even half of them, not even one of them, in an election, in a referendum, that instituted a constitution. So it cannot tell you, rightfully or morally, that you now must subject the country to a referendum if you want any part of its provisions changed. Rubbish. Listen to me now, Mas Andrew. Listen to me good. Listen to me good, because if you don't do it, somebody else won't do it for you. If you don't do it, because the PNP gone totally off the grid, it gone, no way, gone with Golding. Mas Andrew, the PNP gone with Golding. They go with Golding, them say, them gone. So you going to have to do it. And Mr. P.J. Patterson, say what you want of him. He would like to see it happen before he dies. And we are going to oblige him and hope him can hang on and see it. We hope he will hold on and see it happen. It is the desire of his old age, and we are going to oblige him. Yes, Mas Andrew, yes. You can, if you want, to implement what I'm about to tell you next year anytime. But I would advise that you do not do so, because the people will be left under the suspicion that you're not doing it because you want constitutional reform, but you want to stay in power. So I am going to suggest that you go through the election first. Go through the next general election and win as much seat. Win back the seat them that you have. Don't give up one. Win them back. Right? Good. Me talk about from your perspective now, so me support the PNP. But since them gone somewhere else and leave we, the resistance, then can go on. Then go along with Golding. We there now look about the country. Right? Country first. Hear this now, Mas Andrew. So you're going to go through the next general election and win. Make sure say you win. And when you make sure say you win, you're going to give the PNP with that Englishman, because he will still be there. Because no care what you hear them talk about them can, and them got this and them, they not do a damn thing. Because there are no more Mike and Marlene at the party. There are no Dudley Thompson. There are no what's his name? DK Duncan. Them the radical man there. Them the man there and gone. But you have left a Frefre and Kaba. Send it go get them too. Matter of fact, me don't talk to them, Me done with them. Frefre is why you have leave. Jellyback people. Right? Walk up and down and see this damn Englishman, knowing that the man is illegal in the parliament, knowing that the man never had a Jamaican passport till him of 46, have no interest in this country. Them know him is there. Them know him is there because him a look for build back him fortune on our backs. Just like him old slave master family them. Them know that. But them stand up on the platform I tell the PNP people about Mark Golding, the next Prime Minister of Jamaica. I am telling you, no. The whole of uno dep on the political platform, I talk them damn nonsense. I don't care who no are, whether uno want to be authentic or fake PNP. I hope the devil in hell is waiting on uno patiently with an especially hot spot stoke up for uno. And uno burn in hell. Because uno wicked. Wicked. So, Mas Andrew, back to business. You need to make sure you secure that victory. And you give that Englishman the opportunity to come on board and implement the changes that we want, not what him want. What we want, not what the PNP want. So you go down on the ground and consult with the people and ask them what them want. You can't fail. Can't fail. But if the Englishman is insisting that him is not going to cooperate, and that somehow, according to him, the process is going nowhere, because him not cooperating, the opposition, we on this side not cooperating, you don't have to worry about that. And I will tell you why. Because you have options. You can either go along with what the Constitution says, or because the Constitution is not a legitimate piece of paper. It's not legitimate. It's only because we have accepted it over the years that give it its legitimacy. But now we are no longer going to accept it. So here's what you do. If push come to shove, the first thing is you are going to abolish the Constitution and replace it with an interim constitution. Let me repeat myself. You're not going to suspend the present Constitution. You have a majority in the House. You have the majority in the Senate. You're going to use the Parliament, and you're going to abolish the Constitution that exists now with your majority in the Parliament and your majority in the Senate. You don't need no 2/3 majority. You not ask the PNP no question about this thing. They want to obstruct and you want to move forward. So you abolish the Constitution and you turn up into the Parliament when you announce the abolishment of the Constitution. You have your replacement Constitution in place. It is an interim Constitution. What is going to be stated in that interim Constitution? The first thing is that no court can make any ruling concerning the Constitution that you put in place. Let me repeat that. The first rule of the interim Constitution will be that no court, none whatsoever, can make any order pertaining to the interim Constitution. That interim Constitution must declare itself the supreme law of the land. It's a very simple process. All of the laws that are in place remain in place. That's what your Constitution going to say now. All of the laws that are there remain in place. All of the structures of governance, the Parliament, the Cabinet, and the Senate, as well as the local government, all of that structure, civil service, the Auditor General, the DPP, the Minister of Finance being elected, being an elected official, all of that, you're going to state in the new interim Constitution will remain in place. There is where it ends. That means the teachers, the nurses, the police, the soldiers, the civil service, all of the government workers will remain in place. Even the Integrity Commission, yes, left them in the same place too. Till the people and you and me sit down and decide how we're going to do this thing. So everybody remains in place. The third step is that you will be making a rule in the interim Constitution. It has to be stated there. You're going to be setting up a group And that group is the one who will be involved in engaging the people in conversations about what this new constitution will be about. So the conversation you have to take into the communities. And it is the people of the communities. You don't want them to telling you this system and that system. No, you want them to tell you what the problems are that they want you to solve. And then you and the think tank and that group will sit down and figure out how best to bring about the solution. And then you go back to the people and tell them what you're doing, and then we'll have another discussion. That is my suggestion. Give this conversation 6 months of deliberations with your people, of your people, let me know. The constitution should be drafted and passed in the parliament with your simple majority. Because now that constitution that you are going to get from the people, it will now be called the People's Constitution. That is what you will be drafting in the field. And then when it comes to the parliament and it is debated and passed, it then becomes the Constitution of Jamaica, the supreme law. You give the law a time to run. I would say 5 years before you start to look at the review of it, because the people must see what the constitution that they want, whether or not it's really benefiting them. And if the argument is that this thing now need tweaking, you tweak, and it's at that point that you go to the people in a referendum and ask them now to vote on whether or not they want this thing to remain. Remember now, at them tell you what to do, and you make it happen for them. It is very unlikely, therefore, unless the system that they want now work for them, right? In which case you have to go back into the field. You have to go back into the field. We have time until we get it right. And then when the people give you the 2/3 majority, that becomes the constitution that it will be difficult now for anybody to change unless they go back to the people. Then you can say in the constitution that it should not be changed. Certain provisions should not be changed unless it goes back to the people to be changed. That now is a legitimate constitution, and that is my tuppence worth. So, Mas Andrew, make the Englishman sit down there, a twiddling thumb, and a galan like him have any power. We know say no power, because we know that there are options, always options. And yes, while all of this is taking place, you will have the people at the university and make up all nice, but none of we now listen to them, because it's not about them. And since the PNP gone with Golding, right, we going to have to do this thing together all the way, right, and get the country that we want. Of course, I can tell you that the objective of any society is for stability, for good economics, and in our case, we have to worry about crime. I can tell you off the bat that there is no system that you're going to put in place that is going to solve the crime problem. And that is because of the nature of the system. It's a Europeanized system, which is an individualist system. It has a nuclear family and a philosophy that a man's home is his castle. Therefore, he must do whatever he wants in his castle with his rules. When you have circumstances like that, there is no formal dispute resolution, neither in the home nor in the communities. And because there is no means for resolving disputes in the communities, we only have to rely on a court, and that won't take months and years to resolve. That is not an efficient system, right? There are systems that you can put in place that can give you justice in a day and eliminate crime. And when I say eliminate, I mean eliminate. I don't mean bring it down. I mean eliminate. That is the eldership system that they operate on the continent. That's our system. But we're not ready for that yet. Why? Because it has weaknesses. And if we establish a system like that with the weaknesses, we could end up with a very fractured society like what you see going on the continent. And we don't want that. So before we can look in that direction, the eldership system, which is a superior system than the rubbish that we're doing now, we will have to work out the kinks that exist in the system, and then we can implement. But as I said, not time for that yet. So that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing, for subscribing, for giving the video a thumbs up, as well as leaving your comments. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and walk good.